going on? I'm your host, Nico. Let's get right back into it. Welcome to What's Going On. I'm Sherry L. Clark.
And I'm Nico, and we're your hosts for today's show.
Here on What's Going On is where we come together and discuss issues that are most important to us teens.
Today's episode will definitely be one for the books.
Topic: mental health and youth crime.
Yes!
DA Jason Williams
and Juvenile Court Judge Clinton Clint Smith. Let's give a warm ABCT team welcome to today's guest.
Well, DA, Mr. Jason Williams, how does it feel when you have to see a young person my age or younger and you have to send them to the jailhouse?
It's like watching it happen to my own son. One of the reasons I became DA and ran for this office was so that we could endeavor to do what Frederick Douglass talked about a long time ago, but we still as a country and as a state and as a city have not embraced it, which is it's better to invest and build strong boys and girls than to try to repair broken men and women. And so, you know, it is really hard to watch someone who's made a bad decision, to see them deal with the consequences of that decision, whether you are 16 or 60. What we do, what choices we make, they have very real consequences that can change our life forever. And it's really hard to watch it when it's a young person.
Yeah.
I completely understand your role and the job you decided to take on, but I just want to know how do y'all sleep at night, knowing that you play a major role in young people having to go behind bars and rot in cells, and especially young black men. How do you sleep at night?
Sometimes you don't sleep well. Sometimes you don't sleep at all. But you know, it's not just this inconsequence, because if you take a life, for example, like one of the charges that can allow a young person to be charged as an adult and actually serve very long sentences, they have taken the life of another young person or multiple young people at one time. And those parents, they don't get graduations, they don't get grandkids, because another young person made a bad decision. And you're right, my role does cause some sleepless nights for me, being a part of that process. I can tell you that there have been DAs in the past that really were mass producing convictions for hundreds of young people, regardless of the charge, and transferring more kids than we choose to transfer. So we're very circumspect, meaning we really look at each case as an individualized case-by-case basis, look at the history of the young person before we make that decision. But to your point, it causes some sleepless nights. Judge, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. The most challenging part of my job is when we have to actually make a sentence of what we call disposition. Because my job is a little different than the DA's. I am charged with hearing both sides of whatever argument is presented to me. And after I have heard those decisions, to try to make the best and the right decision, not only on behalf of that child, that young man or young woman in front of me, but also the family. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I spend a lot of time thinking about it, and as the DA says, I too have had a number of sleepless nights, and I anticipate I will have more. But I like to make sure that the decision I make is a decision that I've thought through very thoroughly, that I've tried to make sure that I understand all the component parts, all the root causes of what has brought that young man or that young woman before me. And then try to make a decision that not only benefits that child, but also that family. So you're right, these are tough jobs, these are tough decisions, and that is part of the reason we're doing this today, is that we want you and everyone else to know that we care about the youth of this community. I ran for judge because I care about the youth. I had an opportunity to run for some other judgeships in the city, but I chose to run for juvenile court judge because I felt that that was where I could make the most meaningful change and impact. And we are collectively trying to work together on that. We don't always agree. And I don't always agree with what some of his prosecutors say or do. But I have to take both sides and try to make sure that I understand both sides, the facts and the law. Because unlike the adult courts where we have juries, we don't have juries in juvenile court. We are the facts, determination, and also the law. So it is a heavy burden on some days, and some days you do lose sleep as a result of that. Great question.
Have you ever let a teenager go, like, without any penalties or anything like that? And just for you to hear them, like, a couple years later, maybe even a half a decade later, and have them or hear about them on the news or anywhere else about them ending back up in the system?
Yes, I have. And it's very difficult. Again, I can't speak to a specific case. I am governed by what we call the legal canons. So I can't speak to a specific case, but I can tell you that I have been presented with situations where a child has gone to trial, and after listening to the facts and the law, I have determined that the young man is not guilty, or as we say in juvenile court, not delinquent. And sometime thereafter, that young man or young woman appears back in front of me or one of the other judges. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult.
How do you think families tie into why teens commit crimes?
I think it's an integral part, unfortunately. Prime example, you have friends here, and let's say that you grew up with them, and one of the friends decides to engage in a behavior that they should not be engaging in. But he's your boy. So you go with your boy because you want to try to make sure your boy is okay. But you get caught up in whatever he is doing. And then if you are charged, perhaps your involvement may also prompt the DA to bring charges against you. So at that point, you have to deal with that, and we have the same situation with families. Sometimes there are family members where there may be one person in the family who is engaging in behavior that they should not be, that would bring them before the court or bring them to the attention of the DA's office. And again, that's your family.
What do you want from us? If say we did right, would y'all be out of a job?
Are y'all just profiting off of us, if that's the case?
So I can tell you, I can show you my pay stubs. I'm not profiting very much. I made a lot more money just practicing law as a lawyer before. So no, there's no profiting. But let's be honest. The prison industrial complex is a thing, and there are a number of people in this country that profit from building prisons. I made a commitment to fight mass incarceration when I ran for DA, and the city overwhelmingly supported that type of change, making sure that we were using jails for people who were hurting people, not for people who had mental health issues, not for people who have drug addiction issues. And we've been working really hard in that endeavor. But what do we want from you? I want you to be able to take a walk at night and not get hurt. I want you to be able to have money in your pocket and not have it stolen from you. I want you to be able to have a beautiful life in the city of New Orleans, like I used to have. Growing up in Pontchartrain Park, I could ride my bike anywhere in that area, and nobody bothered me. And I felt safe. And I want you all to grow up in a city where you can feel safe. And right now, that's not the case. But we're doing a lot of work to try to make that the case.
And let me add, no, we're not making money, that I can assure you. As DA says, we both could have done a lot better financially in the private sector, but we chose to do this to try to give back. And what do we want from you? We need your help. I need your help. I need you to speak to your friends. Let them know that this is serious. We're living in a situation and a time, as I said earlier, where the public is afraid. The public is afraid. And we need you to help your friends and family know that, you know, we have to work collectively together to make a difference. And what you will find is that they will listen to you. Your friends will listen to you.
A lot more than they'll listen to us.
Yeah, but you got to speak up. You have to speak up.
Have you ever looked back at old cases and a kid was put in adult jail for a violent murder, and you've looked back on it and you took them out of jail, and now you're getting hate because you took them out, but they did something very bad?
You know, it's a very timely question. I was actually just up at the state capitol in Baton Rouge getting beat up on by some folks from North Louisiana and other parts of the state because of exactly what you just described. I went back and looked at old cases where a young person had been arrested and they didn't get a fair trial. And we let the judge know all of the evidence, and the judge got to see it, and the defense presented new evidence to the court. But some folks don't want to see that happen. They don't care if somebody had a fair trial. And I get a lot of hate because of that. And they say, well, you know, sometimes, in one instance, this young person said that they were the victim of a robbery, and when the robbery never even occurred, he went and bought some marijuana with the money that he got from work, and his dad was asking where the money was, and he said, oh, I was robbed. And then his dad called the police, and the police came, and they showed him a photographic lineup, and he picked somebody out. And that person was a real person with a real life, and the police went and picked him up and snatched him from that. And they sat in jail for 22 years.
Oh, wow.
For a crime they didn't commit, but even more than that, for a crime that never even occurred. Because there was no robbery. Now, a lot of folks in other places go, okay, well, that case is okay, but what about these others? And I said, if you don't have a fair system, you don't have a fair system. It's like pregnant. You can't be a little bit pregnant. All of the Constitution has to matter. So the same folks who want to defend their right to bear arms and they want everybody to have a gun, well, there's a lot of other lines of the Constitution. And all of them have equal value and equal weight. And that is what I, as DA, am trying to get folks to realize. Everybody deserves justice and fairness.
Mr.
Excuse me, let me go and grab something. Okay, I'll be right back.
Mr. DA, are you a father?
I am a father of 3. My most important job.
When you lock a child up like myself, do you ever think, how do you implicate that in your children to make sure they be on the right track, make sure they do the right things so they would never have to come your way or the juvenile judge way?
You know, I'm raising 3 children, but I feel like us as adults should be responsible for all of the city's children. Okay. When I was growing up, if I did something wrong 10 blocks away with no mom or dad seeing what I did, back in the day, somebody would report back before I even got home about what occurred. And so certainty of discipline, knowing if you don't do the right thing that something's going to happen, and it's going to happen swiftly, that's important for raising good human beings. Like, I want my kids and I want all the city's kids to be folks, when they walk into a room, they're respected and their opinions are valued. But part of that is teaching discipline. But the only way you get discipline is by knowing, if you do this, then this happens. If you do this, then this happens. Now, that's not always a bad thing. Well, if you do good things happen.
Follow-up question.
Yes.
Do you feel safe sending your children out to the school system, to school, anywhere, knowing that these things such as shootings, school shootings, people just dying from unnecessary deaths, people taking kids, sex trafficking, do you feel safe sending your children out there?
You know, if you ask any parent that question, they'll tell you the scariest moment is when their kids aren't in their sight. You know, because you're giving this thing that you brought into the world and you love that God gave you, giving that to the world. And the world's a dangerous place. Yes. And when we grew up in school, you know, the biggest concern might be that test that you may not have studied for enough, or what they were going to serve you in lunch. But the idea that you go through an active shooter drill in a classroom, I mean, that is something that elected leaders and adults can do something about, but they have not. So no, I don't feel good about, and I don't feel good when my children are out in the world or when they go to school. Don't really have a choice, but we've got to work a whole lot harder at making safe spaces safe again, and schools aren't.
Let's pause for commercial break. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You support ABCT program because you like what we're doing over here. And as you can see, we want to keep this thing going. They're enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. ABCT, right? ABCT! ABCT!
Welcome back to What's Going On. I'm your host, Nico. Let's get right back into it.
Let me ask y'all a question. What you asked what we want from you. You all have heard a little bit about my job, right? What are some things that you would want from me as your DA? Whether you could vote or not, I'm still your DA. I work for you. I'm a servant, right? I'm a public servant. So what is it you want from the system that you all see?
For me, I would like a sense of being safe. Like, I would like to feel safe in my own city. I would like to feel safe walking out of my house. Like, I haven't played outside with my cousins since I was like 7, 8, and I'm 15 now. I really haven't gone outside. I don't go into any parties because I don't ever feel safe there. I would like a sense of security, a sense of feeling safe, you know, just feeling like I'm at home in my home.
Right, right. You know, and that's a big part of why we have had to make the decision to charge some juveniles as adults. There's one case in particular. A girl about your age was at a family party, and everybody was having a good time. There's balloons and food. He can't. He's a judge. I can. And they were, and somebody got mad at somebody down the street and came and shot that party up. You know. Oh, wow. And when things like, and that's not the only time something like that has happened. So I understand when you say you have not gone to parties. I remember my son was telling me he was going to a party. It was at an Airbnb, right? And there had just been a case where someone shot up a party at an Airbnb. So I'm thinking, oh, son, you can't do that, right? So if someone is willing to shoot into a crowd, even if they're a young person, they have told you they do not value human life. And I want you to be able to go to parties, and I want you to be able to hang out outside and not live in fear. And so that was a big part of why we made that decision to transfer some of those cases. It kept me up at night to do it. But it is important because that is one of the ways that we can make ourselves safer.
What I personally would like to see, I would like to see more motivation for children to want to go far in life and pursue big things. I would like for them to feel like they're heard, because that's a big thing. Like, teens do not feel like they're heard by anyone. Adding fuel to their fire for what they want to do in life, and being supportive and something I'm thinking about. But that's what I would like to see more of.
You know, you can see that in the amount of voting or the lack of voting. The word they use is voter apathy. Years ago, when our people were fighting for the right to vote, everybody was excited when they got an opportunity to do that. But because of what you just described, of not being heard, that sense that people don't want to hear what you have to say or have your contribution be felt. You're right, that is something that we as adults have to focus on a regular basis, because when you get a group of young people that are truly engaged in a community, they can do really amazing things and make the space so much better.
I would like to see better food at school. Like, it's bad, man. It's getting real bad out here, and I just think that that's a really big part in us being able to learn. You know, so that's what I would like to see.
You know, I'm so saddened to hear that food cafeteria food is still bad in 2024.
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
Horrendous.
In the world of great food trucks and everything else, the fact that they can't figure out cafeteria lunch is breaking my heart. Where we live, exactly.
Well, how, when you go about of doing your job, and sometimes sentencing some teens my age as an adult, how does that make you feel? Or how do you feel like you've made a change, an impact on today's community or society?
You know, what I pray is that the decisions we make about who to charge and when, and the decisions that judges make and juries make, I pray that those each move us closer to that community that you have described, to that community we all want, where we feel like, one, people want to hear what we have to say, and we're respected, all of us, 16 and 60. And one that we don't have fear when we walk out of our door. And it is not fair to you all to live in a city like that, which is why I have to make some very difficult decisions sometimes.
Would all rise? This court is now in session. Judge Clint Smith is presiding.
Please be seated. When I changed from having that suit on to having this robe on, and you guys come in front of me, it changes your whole lives. The reason I do this is to let you fully appreciate what the differences are. When I'm sitting here, even the DA, when I walk into a courtroom, he has to stand, because the law gives me the right to make decisions on your life. When you come into my court and I have this robe on, the power and authority that is vested in me through this robe gives me the authority to allow you not to go home. If you come in front of me and I determine that whatever you did places our community or you at risk, I say, no, you got to go over here and sit. And you sit until I tell you you can go home. Be that 7 days, 14 days, or until your trial. This is serious. This is serious. The reason we do this, the reason we come, the reason we have these conversations, I want y'all to understand that while we can speak to you, while we can try to guide you, can try to direct you, this is serious. Your lives are serious. The people who you hang out with are serious. When you come in front of me with this robe on, I have to make decisions that affect not only your lives, but the lives of this community. And if that means I got to sit you down, I will sit you down. However, if it means that I can work with you in his office, then we'll do that. We'll do that also. But I put this on so that you can understand that your lives change when you come in front of me. Mom and daddy could be there crying, screaming, hollering, saying, I want my baby to come home. I'm saying, no, Ms. Smith, he can't go, she can't go. You may feel that you have served a certain amount of time and you want to be released from detention. I make that final decision. You may feel like you've been on probation or parole and that you've done all you needed to do, but someone from his office may be saying, no, you haven't. Somebody else may be saying, yes, you do, but I make that final decision. So I do this to make sure you understand that you don't want to come before me in my courtroom with this robe on having committed an offense. And that's part of the reason we're doing what we do. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Because when we lose any one of you, we lose a part of our community. We lose a part of your family. I can't tell you how many mamas sit behind me in a courtroom crying. Every day. Now, some of them may cry, but some of them will also be pleased that we're helping you. Because they're also afraid. I had this one kid come before me.
I want to thank you both so much for sharing your stories and providing information on today's topic.
It's our hope that the conversations we're having, the information we're providing, will help some teen, somewhere, somehow, today. Until next time, thanks for watching. Keep your head up!
What if it's too hard?
I'm gonna push through!
What if it's too rough?
I'm gonna push through!
What if you're just too young?
That's not true!
What if you're not good enough?
That's not true!
Why? Because
I can do anything I put my mind to!
I believe in you.
Chin up!
Believe in yourself.
Head high!
Tell me why.
We can do anything we put our minds to!
Who are you?
ABCT! ABCT! ABCT!
ABCT Performing Arts Summer Program is more than a camp. It's culture. A 6-week summer performing arts camp for kids ages 7 to 17 that will teach your child about theater, acting, and TV production. Get your kid involved with the award-winning Anthony Bean Community Theater this summer.